You mentioned once that, Black entertainers, that they kind of go in these four, we'll call them tropes, right? You got the like gangster guy, right?
Oh, yeah.
Then you got the mandingo. That's
right.
the second one,
Sexualized.
like the hypersexualized guy or girl, right? Then you got the sort of ambiguous, safe, apolitical, like no opinion guy.
Apolitical, asexual,
right.
like,
something. You're just in the middle.
Right.
Right. You gray. You're not black, you're not white, you gray.
Right.
And then number 4 is something you described as sort of like the primitive exotic, like this, almost like new minstrel show kind of thing. Neo-minstrel thing.
Yeah, right.
And I think your thing is you want folks to be seen as normal, right? That even though we may have these gifts that we're all,
right,
on that human level. Unfortunately, people don't see you as regular, right or wrong. I
knew instantly. Here's the thing. My manager told me, he says, you're going to win because people are going to instantly see you as primitive exotic. And I was like, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, there's an excitement that, certain white people get where, and all right, we tested this theory once on television producer Norman Lear.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
And
it's all in the family, right?
Yeah.
And he do a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
Right. So, both Rich and I sort of knew early our way in the door, which is basically like, if you just look at our exterior, especially if you have no clue of who we are, or what we are, like our exterior says something else. Like you see a 400-pound Afro guy. Rich was like he looked like actor Nipsey Russell, very dark. His exterior was very roughened.
Yeah.
And he had these dreadlocks. Like he's the guy you think of if like the white person that thinks like the black rapist is from prison, like that's what he looks like. But when we both talk, it's almost like, wait a minute, where this Harvard Dictionary voice come from? Like it totally, now people are used to it now because I've been here for 25 years. Back in 94, like when I started talking, like most journalists were like, whoa, forgive me. I just never knew you were so intelligent. This is amazing. Like you're so articulate and so, yeah, it's an insult now. Like
it's such an insult.
But it's to them it was sort of like, in their mind, there was like, okay, rapper, black guy. Okay. And then I started talking. There was like, wait a minute, we never seen a rapper with like a point of view before of politics and that. And so, first I was like insulted, like, yo, man, I'm tired of these journalists telling me how like articulate I am and all this. And he's like, yo, dog, he's like, take advantage of it. Like,
right.
So they're gonna underestimate you every time you come in the door. So, you got to show that. So I used to, especially like the first 5 years, like I would territorial mark my territory by always trying to be the smartest guy in the room, that sort of thing. And then, that got exhausting. But,
right.
For me at least, and it's weird, especially with now, last year during quarantine, I probably connected with every A-list artist I've ever worshipped, because everyone's home and has nothing to do. So now it's like I'm having these like gargantuan long conversations with, just name the A-list person, like, oh wow. And the thing is that they didn't know how to explain it either. And to them, I told them that that even though people think it's like a compliment when they say like, like Stevie Wonder, you have these amazing gifts and, you're just supernatural. Like it seems like a compliment, but that's not a compliment either. It's nice to say that it's from a worship level that you mind this person's gift. But what it also says is sort of like, you're not human like I am.
Right. Exactly.
And like, you're supernatural. Right. But then, you can look at a person like who's maligned and like O.J. Simpson. Like, oh, you're an animal. that sort of thing.
Right. So it's either subhuman or superhuman. And I think that's your thing. You know, you really want us to be on not really want us, but you want people to see you on a level. And I think my question was kind of going towards, you know, if we just look at it objectively, and I teach my clients, everybody has a gift, right? Some people's gifts are just, you know, on center stage. What makes Ahmir great? What is it that you do that's great? I mean, again, we all have gifts. What is your gift? What makes you great?
Well, if you're talking to me now, in
2021,
the number one thing is that I actually have to believe I'm great. And that shit is the hard out of any truth.
Wow.
Out of any truth in the world, as far as like my evolving and stuff.
Yep.
One of the hardest things, one of the most cringeworthy things is like admitting like you're worthy or you're a leader. Like everything I do is like, I'd rather just dip my toe in the water. You know, like you go to the beach and like people just run blindly like, oh, run this. I was never that guy. I was always like, dip, dip, dip. Nope. Back to and that's always been me. And so really just getting to the core of, I started reading kind of my go-to person during quarantining was a gentleman named Dr. Joe Dispenza, who, are you familiar with his story at all?
No.
All right. So Dr. Joe Dispenza was sort of in the running for, what's his name? Disgrace cyclist, one testicle. I hate saying that. Lance Armstrong. I'm sorry.
Yeah, disgrace.
One testicle.
He had two at one point. Hilarious. Testicular cancer guy.
Right. Yeah. Sorry. I hate saying that. I just want to say like yellow.
Hold on a second.
With Dr. Joe Dispenza. And I hate that I only think of yellow, cyclist, scandal, one testicle. So Dispenza himself, he was training to be a cyclist, a world champion cyclist. He's training in Los Angeles or somewhere in California, and he gets hit by a truck.
Sheesh.
And
on a road bike? On a road bicycle?
On a road bike, yeah.
Wow.
He gets hit by a truck.
Sheesh.
And he's either facing being a paraplegic or a quadriplegic. And so he's lying in the hospital. And I guess, you know, he had a conversation with himself. Like, this is a guy who's been like active his whole life in sports and using his body and that sort of thing. And that's all he ever knew. And he lied there in bed and was just like, man, I don't know if this is my moment with God or whoever, but if there's any way I could not be in this predicament, I promise you that if I get out of this thing, I'll change people's lives by telling them about this miracle or whatever. Like, just let me have my arms and legs again. 2 months later, like the doctors came in gobsmacked, like something happened. Your muscles are, can you move your muscles? And he literally just got out of bed and started walking, ran the hallways, everything. And
wow.
You know, the doctors, of course, you know, the Western medicine and Eastern medicine and sort of like metaphysical theories or whatnot, like the three of them never meet at the same time. And usually I'm sure you've seen it as a doctor yourself.
Yeah.
They just said, you know, sometimes we just say this is an act of God and we can't explain it, but, you know, there's no diagnosis. We acknowledge that, yes, yesterday you had this, that, and the other with your spine, and now it's 7 a.m. and we're in here and you're literally in fine health as you were. And Joe kept his promise. He said, he was like, okay, I'm no longer a cyclist. I'm going to go to medical school. What he wanted to know was what happened in his brain that told his body, okay, we're going to heal you.
Yeah.
That's what he wanted to know.
Yeah.
And so he basically, before then, as with me, like the idea of placebo syndrome was sort of like, kind of like seen as a fake thing or a joke. Like, here, try this
sugar pill.
Yeah, try this pill and then you'll be healed and that sort of thing. And, it's almost like placebo syndrome is sort of a code word for like fraud or that sort of thing. But what he was explaining was that, no, placebo syndrome is actually what keeps us operational, to the point where it's like, if I believe that these 2 Advil are going to take my headache away, like it's a belief system so 100% that it actually manifests itself.
Mm-hmm.
And Dispenza was basically, all of his books sort of are on the level of teaching you how to reprogram your mind and your thinking. Because I'll be the first to admit, I lived a life where I did everything in terms of like, first, wait, hang on one second. Not that loud. You got to be more aware.
I'm sorry, guys.
Sorry. Anyway. I thought she was doing the drum solo. No. So Dispenza's books, he teaches you how to reprogram your mind. And I'm, probably one of the worst pieces of advice. I'll say that Rich has taught me everything creatively that I need to know. And to the point where even on Rich's deathbed, he wrote my 25-year manifesto. Like, even on his deathbed, he couldn't communicate. He had the worst case of leukemia, but he could still type and his brain worked.
Huh.
And he typed out a 40-page Ahmir manifesto. Okay, you're going to write this book. Da, 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 da. Like, I'm literally,
wow.
Like, everything that you see me doing is more like going down Rich's bucket list of, and we're almost ahead of it. Like, there's like maybe 6 things left on, and his thing was like, okay, if you're still broke by the age of 70, this is your fault. But, when I die and you follow this to the T, you should be cool for the next 35 years of your life. So that's how like brilliant Rich was. But Rich, I guess in order to protect us and to keep us from drugs, was sort of like, he explained from the gate that you guys are a different type of group. You're not a commercial type of group.
Mm-hmm.
And so any expectations you have of having this kind of ticker tape parade celebration, what he calls like the Bentley moment.
Yeah.
Any thoughts of you guys having
shiny suit moment?
Yeah, like having champagne and spilling them all over video models and like
right.
making it rain. That. It's like, we're not that type of group. And, we're 20-year-olds growing up in the age of Hype Williams. So of course, like, we're looking at these videos, like wondering like, damn, when's my slow motion walk moment? And, where's Kareem Superhead Stevens at? And, like, we're looking at those things, slight tidbit. My girlfriend actually discovered Kareem.
Oh, really?
She was a video commissioner for Jive Records back in the day.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, she for this shaky ass video for Mystical.
She discovered her, and then she discovered the industry.
Right, exactly.
The industry discovered her.
Yeah, exactly.
Her skill.
Right. Anyway, so Rich sort of, maybe I just took it to heart that, prepare yourself. I think Rich was more or less like, always be prepared for a pivot, because if this plan doesn't work, then you got to have another plan. I think maybe I just filtered that as, okay, everything you're going to do is going to be a fail, and always prepare for the worst. Okay. And so that's where I live my life, where I never made a record and thought like, I aim for the best. Like, especially in the early days of like watching Kanye, I used to laugh at Kanye, like, the arrogance of this guy. Like, you really think that's the greatest shit ever? This is the most mediocre shit I ever heard of my like, but he just own that confidence. And,
his belief was strong.
Right. And I was like,
even if it was crazy, it was strong.
Right. And the thing was, I'd be in the room snarking. I'm like, the nerve of you, like, you're so mediocre, but you're trying to convince me to think this is the greatest thing ever. And like, that was just
his lyrics or music.
Well, I mean, this is early Kanye,
yeah.
And that's the thing. Like I wish I could possibly, and this is very carefully worded. I would like to, and he's doing a documentary right now on his life. So I kind of want to know in those early years, because those early years where he was hanging around a lot, and we would just think he's crazy. Like, here he comes again, trying to sell us an established platinum act on how to do things, and he doesn't even have like cab fare to get back to Jersey. How's this guy going to tell me how to do my life and that sort of thing? But, he always, to his credit, he always presented whatever his product was to the world with the utmost confidence of, this is a winner.
Yeah.
And I was the opposite. Even with this movie, everything I've made so far was made under the guise of, this does well. It probably is not going to do well. So let me plan my next trick, to see if I can still survive. I was fight or flight.
Yeah.
And I never thought, like, this is the first time that I've released a product where I'm actually owning, like, hey, it is good.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing, which is a weird feeling to have. Like, I'd never, to answer your question, like, I had to tell myself. And once you tell yourself, and once you really believe it,
yes.
And that's the thing.
And feel it. That's the other part.
You have to internalize it. Yes.
Yes.
You have to believe and internalize it. Not in that. It's the difference between I am and am I. Pre-pandemic, I am. Yeah, you think so? I am. And now I got to be, I am. Like, am I with a question mark versus I am with an exclamation point. And that's one of the hardest things to deal with, simply because it's like, how do you not feel vulnerable when you believe in something? And we're so busy trying to protect ourselves that
all the time
that, sometimes, I don't know. It's a scary feeling to be that vulnerable in front of a lot of people.
In front of the world, right?
Exactly.
In terms of your platform. Great answer, man. It's about belief. You can have all the tools, all the gifts, but if you don't believe it, then you're either going to sabotage yourself or you're going to enter the party sort of lukewarm, right?
Yeah. So I'm encouraging people now. There's an exercise that someone told me to do, which is basically like every Sunday I have to write like a 50-point manifesto of what I want for my life. And
does it change Sunday to Sunday?
It changes. So in the very beginning, I'll say like in maybe the first month or so, I would have to share this list with the person.
Mm-hmm.
And, maybe the first month or so, she look at it and be like, this is bullshit. You don't mean this. Mm-hmm. And I was like, no, I do. And she's like, I know you don't mean it because you didn't even start wishing things for yourself until like number 37. Like, you're still in that mode of people pleasing and, well, I want my mom to, and then I want to make sure that, make sure Jimmy Fallon's happy about, and make sure, like, all my points were, she's like, all your points from 1 to 37 was for other people. Like, you want them happy, but you didn't even start with, I would like. You didn't even start that sentence until number 38. So she's like, do it again.
Right.
And, we started hitting a wall, like maybe by the third month.
That's what happened.
And I told her like, well, this feels silly. Like, what am I going to say? Like, I wish for a pair of Jordans that fit me or that sort of thing. Like, what what do you want me to say? She's like, yeah, I want you to get primitive and really speak what's in your heart. And the reason why you feel sort of tepid and nervous to even talk about things you want for yourself is because you're programmed to not think you're worthy of these things. Most Black people, like we'll look at white people especially with the word entitlement and kind of with the, that must be nice. Like that sort of thing. Like we're not entitled. We're humble people. And we don't, even where we are right now, like you see me every week.
Yeah.
And you come up to this, apartment, how I live and that stuff.
Yep.
I've been hiding this from like my Philadelphia life. Like, people ask like, oh, wait, Ahmir, why you still drive that rinky dink car? Like you've been driving this car since your second album. Like what the hell? And my girlfriend's like, dude, you realize you own a 6-figure Mercedes, right? Like how come you never take that car to Philly? And my thing's, I could never show them that because, they'll think I changed and they'll think, I'm stuck up and they'll think I'm like Daddy Warbucks or that sort of thing. And I like it was such a separation anxiety thing that I had that, it was like never wear clothes too nice. To always make sure never go to a car wash.
So
like,
interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I still in Philly, like I had to hide like any signs of success, keep my old homes, all those things. And it's like, you're hiding in plain sight. And so basically I'll just say that, you eventually I had to refurbish that list and start with, I would like for me, blah, 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 blah. And then, it was hard. Like I only got to 18, can't think of, she's like, you can't think of 50 things that you want for yourself. You can only think of 18. Like it was that hard to feel entitled. So yeah, I had to work a lot last year in terms of wanting my heaven on earth right now, being entitled, deserving to be happy. Yeah, I deserve things for me. I deserve, like, it always felt like I was going against that whole meek shall inherit the earth thing. So don't even get me started with colonial Christian teaching that has us programmed to think small and those sort of things. So I had to undo a lot of that. And it's very uncomfortable because, I was raised in a very extreme fire and brimstone, cross every T, dot every I.
Getting up at church 7 a.m., going to 4 p.m.
Right.
With one break.
All those things, that I learned for like 49 years. And just starting anew is still, and I still struggle with it a lot today, but at least I know that it's a struggle and I'm actively working on it.
Well, it sounds to me like this process, which I also do with other people, is, not to make a pun of it, but it really sounds like a quest for love, right? A quest for internal love. It's really what it is, right?
It is. Maybe I was smart enough to. I was smart enough to name myself that, not even knowing, right? Not even knowing. Absolutely.
One of the things I did want to ask you real quick, and then we'll get into yes or BS. Mm-hmm. The answer to the question of how you came up with the name, and I'll tell you what I know. Mm-hmm. Initially, it was the brother question, right? And then the people kept calling the journalist kept calling you Mark, and you're like, all right, that doesn't work. So you were like, all right, well, what quote unquote rap name can I come up with?
Right.
And ski, love, and rock were the sort of prevailing of the day.
Right.
And then I heard you say in another interview something about Tribe Called Quest. So just clarify it for once. Where did the name come from?
All right. So basically, we were in high school. We were going through various names, and Tariq would name us like, okay. In the very beginning, we were Radioactivity, and he was T Metaphor, and I was A Sample, and we got tired of that after 4 months, and then 1990 we became Black to the Future, and he was Hawk Smooth, which was hype African warrior kicking it smooth, and I was some some weird moniker like Divine Technician on the drum set or something like that, like DTS Sticks or something. I don't know. And then when we became Square Roots, at this point, it's like, okay, we need 3 dancers. So we needed 3 dancers. So it was like the Roots and Square Roots. And he'd named, initially the dancers' names was A to Z. Like one guy was an A name. Okay. The other guy was a Z name. And 2 was just the middle. I think his name was Eric. So when we became Square Roots, he gave us all new names. And he gave Eric a question mark. Huh. And, I was like, wait, I'd rather have that name. I want to be the question mark person.
Right.
And he's like, no, you can't be that because you got to be Divine Technician on the drum set, so whatever. And so when high school was over and all those guys went to college and we got separated, it was just me and Tariq left in Philly. I was just like, nah, man, I'm going to take that, the question mark thing. I'm going to take that. And it didn't work. So they kept calling me Mark. And then I was like, all right, I chose the most pretentious acronym, like beat recycler of the rhythm.
Yes, but brother.
Yeah, right. Brother. Right. And then people would say, hey, brother. And like, so then by the 3rd album, I was just like, all right, I'm going to have a cool old school name. And there was a brother and sister in school, William and Audrey Love.
Okay.
But William was like the coolest dude in school. Like he had like fresh Benetton and all that. The girls thought he was smooth and everything. Like, yeah, I'm William Love. And I was like, that's a cool ass name, William Love. But then like, the Human Beatbox was named Buff Love and, Run from Run DMC was Run Love. And I was like, all right, well, Questlove sounds normal, whatever.
Okay.
But yeah, one night after dinner, after dropping me off to my hotel, Q-Tip like stopped the car and backed up. He said, yo, man, can you finally answer this for me? I was like, what? He said, did you name yourself after our group? I was like, no.
Okay.
It was like a Grey Poupon moment. Right, like he was like halfway down the block and like backed up, rolled the window down. And then he asked that question. And it wasn't until like a day later, I was like, wait a minute. I called him back. I said, yo, did y'all think like I was a sociopath or a stalker? Like I'm going to name myself after which, he's like, yo, it was kind of weird to us, but I said, oh man, y'all really thought I was a sociopath. Like, and I explained, and to this day, I still don't think he believes me, but he just like, oh, okay. Sure.
Sure. Right.
Yeah.
But, so you just shorten question and put love on the end, basically.
Yes, but I made the decision that once and for all, I'm finally going to go back to what I initially wanted was just a question mark with no.
When are you going to do that?
It'll happen. Our album will be finished or whenever the one thing about Rich not being here and me and Tariq finally behind the wheel of our Roots vehicle is that Rich knew when to lay the gauntlet down for, okay, enough songs, turning the record. And
yeah.
I'm sort of I can improve on this song. I can improve on this song. And then like, we're still making the record 4 years later. So when Endgame comes out, yes, I will return.
Endgame, that's the title, huh? Is it really the Endgame? Is that it?
Well, I mean, in terms of, people think of Endgame as in it's over, but I mean, for me, and it's weird, like when we named the tipping point, they thought we meant like, oh, this is the highest level we can go. But no, it's Endgame, for me, just sort of represents, is there ever a period at the end of the sentence? Is there ever a true ending? Like, is this what we asked for? And it's unprecedented for a group 30 years into their existence to still be this strong. Like when I was growing up in 1977, I don't recall like the Mills Brothers from 1947 being like, yo, it's our new shit. Like, oh damn, I got songs in the key of life.
Remember.
And the Mills, right? And the Mills Brothers, like, usually groups only have like the Beatles we're only here for 8 years.
Yeah, 10-year run.
Yeah, 10 to 8 years. So it's just like, this is really unprecedented. So,
so it's really end game. Is there a such thing as an end game?
It really should be end game with a question mark at the end.
Right.
But it's just we'll call it end game. And really, and that was the, Rich was even considerate enough to leave us with 3 album titles, and so we chose end game.
Thanks, Rich.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump into yes or BS. I'm going to make a statement.
Okay.
And you say
yes or BS.
Yes or BS. And if you want to go into why or why not, it's up to you. All right, here we go. Number 1. Mm-hmm. In hip hop, your story needs to be bigger than your talent.
Okay, am I answering this? Is it fact, or do I personally believe that in my heart?
Do you personally believe it in your heart? No. Is it fact? Is this the way it is?
Evidence shows yes. Me personally, BS.
Okay. Number 2. There is no better pizza than Valducci's.
You want to know something?
Tell me.
I'm not for such a guy who's been overweight and morbidly obese in his life. I've not been a pizza guy, nor have I been a candy guy, which is kind of a weird thing. Valducci's is the spot around the corner. Is that
Valducci's?
Valducci's?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Is like in Chinatown.
They used to have a truck. Sometimes it would be by 30 Rock.
So is that the spot that's like up the street in Chinatown?
Yes.
And all right, I tried their Grandma Pizza once.
Mm-hmm.
It was cool, but I'm not pizza. Pizza and pancakes was always like a reward in the household when I was a kid.
Okay,
like when you get pancakes on a Saturday, that was like luxury. Like, oh wow, we get pancakes. Normally my breakfast was like a tasty cake, oatmeal bar, and a hug or a quarter water. That was my breakfast.
Quarter waters, wow.
Yeah, but like Saturdays, Soul Train, what? Mom's making pancakes? Like, it's like, oh, Dad got paid. Like, that was a treat. Same for pizza. When pizza would come on Saturday nights, like, but I don't know. Like, New York and Chicago with their pizza wars, I don't get it. I'll say it's all right, but as far as like standing on the corner for it,
not doing it.
Yeah.
Number 3.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Questlove's vaccinated food salons will be back in 2021.
No doubt.
All right. Looking forward to it.
They might have never left. No, I'm playing. no, I'm playing.
Got a bunch of people like, what you talking about with Number 4. Just Blaze is a top 3 hip hop producer of all time.
Justin's a very good friend of mine. My personal tastes do not reflect the taste of everyday society.
Mm-hmm.
Just Blaze is definitely in my top 10.
Okay. Reason I put this question in here is I read this story. He was actually recounting the story that you had heard a track of his.
Yeah.
And was like, hey, who played drums on that?
He made me angry. Yes.
He was like, it was my fingers that played the drums.
He's making me very angry. No, he's definitely my
top 10.
My top 10. Yes.
All right, cool. I think I'm on number 5. Self-sabotage can be cured.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Facts.
Number 6. Andy Warhol is like Pete Rock for painters.
So Pete Rock's not Andy Warhol for beat makers?
You could say that too.
No, because I actually think that Andy Warhol's true gift is the same thing that Quincy is good at, and the same thing that Kanye is good at. I believe that Andy and Quincy and Kanye, their best gift is their Rolodex. Because all 3 have the ability to start movements and communities. Like Andy's best gift is basically discovering talent. And all the painters that, between Basquiat and what's his name with the stick figures? What was his name? Yeah, Keith Haring, and anyone that's going through the Warhol factory, from like Louvre, the Velvet Underground, all those things. He's a gatherer of people, and the same as Quincy Jones, like the ability to do that. So, in terms of Pete Rock, I would more or less compare Andy Warhol to the person that does that now in hip hop is Kanye. And it's no shade, but basically, Kanye's best gift is his reach, his ability to call this producer or this songwriter or this artist to
collab,
work on a song, and that sort of thing.
Okay. Number 7. Oh, I've been waiting to ask you this. The Akai MPC drum machine produces a swing that is the closest to an actual drummer.
I will actually say, my personal weapon of choice is the Akai MPC 2. Which is weird because
2000, 3000.
The 2000.
Okay. Yep.
But the thing is that I'm hypersensitive to anyone born after 1995 coming into my studio and clowning me for they'll look at me like boomer, like you're still using that relic over there. But I have to explain to them that for me, limitations for an artist, limitations as far as their resources are concerned. That's, in my opinion, that's the best thing for them. And you can always tell the paradigm shift from when the money starts rolling in and they upgrade. Great example. Prince's best work was all those songs that he created in his bedroom. He once had a studio in his bedroom and then a studio in his basement. And the second that he got super famous and took all that money and built Paisley Park and then purchased all the best things that money could buy, then his sound changed. And now it sounded like a glossy studio, professionally done sort of thing. And I missed that grit. And the same for the Wu-Tang Clan.
Yeah.
All those first 6 initial Wu-Tang solo classic group records, they were all done in RZA's apartment in the Stapleton Projects. And then they got their advance, and then he's like, we're all going to LA, we're moving to Beverly Hills, we're going to record Wu-Tang Forever out there. And then they was partying and hanging, and it's like, it's a little different than the first album.
Yeah.
And it's like, so I've always had this thing where if I'm creating music, LL is world famous. LL purchased his grandmother's house in Queens on Farmers Boulevard. And whenever, even to this day, when he's working on his record, I guess I can let the cat out the bag. Tip is working on
LL's next joint.
And I heard it. I hear it's bananas. Like this is, and I'm excited about it because I know Tip knows LL's true music zone and what to bring. I don't think it's about keeping up with people, and I wish artists wouldn't do that. Trying to keep up with the Joneses and figure out what's new. You'll see Madonna doing that. Okay, I gotta. No, I think you go to your zone. I'm for artistic growth, but also you go to your zone and you just perfect and you hone it and you grow in that zone.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to do trap music because to gain the respect of
Migos,
my girlfriend's nieces, nephews who are 17, 18-year-old, whatever. But, LL to this day still goes to his grandmom's basement to write all of his lyrics.
Wow.
For any creative project he does.
Just writing. Wow.
He has to go inside that basement to feel the same way he felt when he was working on radio.
It's important. Yeah.
And so that's why it's funny if you follow LO's Instagram, he's like trolling people because like, wearing the mask, he rode on the train. Like he did a tour of New York. Like he's like posting himself on like the train in Queens, the train in Brooklyn, the train in Harlem, like hanging in, like teasing people, like people not knowing this is LL Cool J, like right next to you. Like, yeah, here I am on the avenue. No one even knows, son. Like that sort of thing. And so, I just think that, staying in a zone with limitations forces you as a creative to push the boundaries further and to innovate more. And I always think the downfall of every musician is when they start booking themselves in these high-end studios that like Frank Sinatra recorded and they needed the wine and cheese spread and that's when it's problems.
Yeah, it reminds me of two of my favorite artists, Nas and R. Kelly. Now R. Kelly's got his legal issues. But I remember, we'll talk about Nas first. I remember Illmatic listening to when I was in high school and just thinking, this is crazy. And how successively each of his albums got less and less raw and gritty until Stillmatic, right? Because he had gone through something crazy. I think his mom had died.
Right.
And then he was being attacked by Jay. So then he went
that forced him to go
out somewhere in like either upstate New York, or maybe I'm wrong, but he went somewhere secluded in a house with just a producer. And did another classic in Stillmatic. So to your point, it's important to really take it back to the roots. All right, last one of the yes or BS here. Number 8, Black Thought. Now before I say this question, if it's a little too confusing, I'll explain it, but I'll see if you get where I'm going with this. Black Thought is too good to be great.
Yeah, I think he's too good to be great. I think he's astounding.
Yeah.
But it's also like, who was I trying to explain this to? All right, this is a flex, but I gotta get
flex.
I gotta get
humble flex. This
is not. No, so that I started up my friendship with Janet Jackson, and I was trying to explain to her that sometimes I forget the example I was using, but I was saying that basically it's almost like it's almost like with bread. Like no one ever mentions bread as their top 3 food of all time. Like you'll be hard pressed to find someone that says, I love bread, water, and peanut butter Captain Crunch. Those are my 3 favorite things. Like no one ever says that. But it's sort of like when you take bread out the equation, oh man, you're ready to kill somebody.
Yeah. What's this lettuce on my hamburger? What's going on here?
You just never. It's almost like it's something so essential, and that's the thing. Like what I've learned in pandemic is, my mind state now that we are. I mean, as of this recording, we're in the very early stages of what I think we've been trying to call hashtag the new normal. These are the very slow steps out of that. And it's to the point now where I see and appreciate even the smallest things on the same level that I would like a future trip to Maui for vacation, or something that you really look for, or seeing this concert, or seeing Prince perform again, that sort of thing. It's like now, man, like I miss I miss taking the trolley from my grandmom's house to downtown. For Mother's Day, I went, visit my mom in Philly, and we were walking to like a Macy's on Chestnut Street. And I like really felt choked up. Like, wow, I really missed this. Like I haven't walked down this block since I was in the 8th grade, and seeing like it's just like the smallest things you appreciate. And so, kind of with Tariq is definitely, when people ask all the time, my guess is that, Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hour thing is very real.
Yeah, it's real.
It's very real. I'm pressed to say that, we're probably going through our 60,000th hour cycle now. And, people ask all the time, like, was it something in the water? And at the end of the day, he goes to the gym every day. I consider like us doing Fallon. Those 2 hours of recording Fallon every day is basically the Roots just rehearsing with each other and being a well-oiled machine. And oftentimes, like when you have acts that are like red hot and then it stops and then now they only do spot dates here and there and occasionally, do other things. They get older. They stop going to the gym. Like, and that's how you have to figure it. Like basically Tariq goes to the gym every day. He writes every day. And he's vigilant about it. Like he wakes up every morning at 5 a.m. He sits in his office. He'll meditate for an hour, usually from like 5 to 9 a.m. That's his 4 hours of when the ideas come to him. That's his alpha thing. Quincy Jones has a theory about how nighttime affects the alpha state of your brain. So, Tariq's one of the people that has to sleep at 10 p.m. And do 8 to 10 hours of sleep a night. And then when he wakes up at 4:30 or 5 in the morning, that's when all the ideas come to him. And then he just starts writing like a maniac. So, no, he's beyond that. I think post Funk Master Flex freestyle, which was really 20 years in the making.
Right. Because you talk about how when you guys used to do those corner shows, he was basically freestyling all the time then, right? So it's something that had been practiced all the way up to that point.
He's been waiting for that invite since 1993.
Wow.
And, it's sort of, it took that long. And, based on the response to it, a lot of people, I don't want to embarrass them about it, but they're basically like, oh, he wasn't corny. I think a lot of times people just see me as the mouthpiece.
Right.
No, people see me as the mouthpiece and think like, oh, the Roots are a bunch of just hippie, Croc Birkenstock wearing, alternative hip hop, like not real hip hop or whatever.
You're wearing Crocs right now.
Dude, I'm manifested. I'm going for comfort. I love Crocs to death.
Go ahead.
Yes, my feet are happy. Come on, you're not tired. You wear Jordans. You wear Jordan 3s all the time, yo.
I wear Crocs.
Your feet aren't
I wear Crocs at home.
Oh, yeah, but not in public. Man. I got a legion. I got a legion of followers, man. I'm changing. I'm telling you, man. Like we don't have to suffer. I'm sorry. I'm just tired of. I'm the guy that like Jordan after Jordan. All my Jordans are just like art pieces on the wall, man. Because my feet are killing me at the end of the day, and I'm just tired of killing myself just to brag. Like, these $4,000 Jordans you'll never afford, son. No, my life is now $40 plastic shoes. Thank you.
Take a sip.
I'm gonna make this cool too.
Right. The reason I put that in there was because I remember you telling a story about basically at a point in Tariq's career, you were trying to get him a little bit more, not buzz, but some more features. And you were basically told by an executive that, he's better than these guys. An executive?
You mean Jay-Z?
Yes.
Yes. Well, I learned early. All right, so there's
I was trying to keep
an executive. No, that makes you sound like a stuffy guy in a suit. No, just say it, Jay-Z. No, there's a rite of passage for every black man that gets out of prison. That book's called The 48 Laws of Power.
Yes.
So every black person reads that book at one point or another. At least they know the first 10 laws.
Yeah.
And rule number 1 is that you just never outshine the master.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if I pre-programmed myself to, I pre-programmed myself to dim my shine just as a means to kind of spook that sat by the door, kind of like ease my way into a thing. Only, it's, I think with, and I'm not saying with black people, lot of times, and you see it a lot, especially in this election cycle, and you see it with the response to doctors. You know, there's really an anti-intellectualism movement happening in America, which is very high school. You know, it's like the cool jocks or the dweeb nerds that's like in trigonometry, 101, that's smarter than you. Like the jocks versus the trigonometry nerds, and they never hang with each other or none of those things. And it's like a lot of times the jocks are just dismissive. Like, even though they know that the nerd knows more than they do. Right. It's like, I don't care.
Have more facts. Right.
I'm still going to toss you in the trash, nerd. And so just a lot of times anything that comes too smart or whatever. And, in the beginning, I tried to suppress that, like kind of like the cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs thing, like trying to suppress, and Rich also warned me of that too. Like, I know you want to do this, I'm the smartest guy in the room thing, but like fall back a little bit. Like, don't do it so much because, you could draw more bees with honey than not.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, not to do that. But I mean, Reek's a guy that just, he made a decision to not dumb his art down or dumb his words down or any of those things. So yeah, I've heard a lot of cats. Like one time I heard Run on Hot 97, kind of sneak we're down with Run. Absolutely. But they were asking Run like about new hip hop and whatnot. That's weird. Like at one point, Roots were a new hip hop group. So what do you think about these new artists out now? And he was just like, man, he's, cats like, Cool Keith and the Roots using like all these big words and whatnot. Like, nah, man, just be normal, that sort of thing. And I get where he's coming from, like to be relatable, but I think we're all learning these lessons now. So I know for me, this will be the first Roots album that I made without Rich at the helm.
Yeah.
And this is also the first Roots album. We haven't made an album in 7 years. And on top of that,
he passed in 2016?
2014.
2014, okay.
We haven't made an album in 7 years. And at that, I will say that I probably have clocked in more DJ hours.
Yeah.
More can't ignore the science of DJing hours in those 7 years. So the common denominator with a lot of the great producers that we like today is that they're all DJs. Jimmy Jam was a DJ before he joined the time and all those things. So there's an awareness he has about like crowd response and what they move to. The funniest story is Dr. Dre. He said that, what made him a better producer was the fact that the clubs he would DJ, he was like, there was literally no room for any mistake whatsoever. And Dre was the kind of guy that would like back in the day, do like these crazy experiments where he would spin like the Marvelettes, Please Mr. Postman with like Planet Rock. Or like he would mix like I Feel Good by James Brown with like Play at Your Own Risk by Planet Patrol. And that like experiments that we take for granted now. But back then it was like, what the hell is he doing? That's crazy. Mm-hmm. But he would say that, he would do these experiments fully knowing one mistake. I mean, the record could skip, it could be whatever, not his fault or whatever, and then they would shoot the club up. So he was hyper aware that you couldn't even think of playing the wrong song at the spots he was spinning at in South Central Los Angeles because they would shoot the DJ.
Wow.
The fights would break out if you play the wrong song. So every song has to mean something to them. So that's why Dr. Dre is even more hyper aware as a producer of what works. Because when you're creating under that sort of tyranny, it does something to your creative juices. And so, I'm just saying that to say that the amount of DJing that I did when Rich died, I didn't want to make any more Roots records. So I'd like put all my eggs into the DJ basket. Mm-hmm. And so I've definitely done like 30,000 hours of DJing since 2014. So this will be the first time that I'm creating music fully knowing something. It's almost like eating the apple from the Garden of Eden. Like I know now. Yeah, and it's not like, it's not from a naive place where it's just like, oh, this will be cool. Or like, I don't care if they don't get it. I like that sort of thing. And it's not to say that I'm compromising my personal integrity, taste to please people. Yeah. But there's an education that I now know that I can't ignore now. So this is going to be a very different.
Have you started yet?
Oh, we're at the end. We're
okay.
We're at the end. I'm just I'm just one of those can't leave any idea behind type person. So yeah, I already got the warning shot that, by June 1st to not create anything else for this record and just turn it in. So right. you'll have a Roots album by fall.
All right. Dope. All right, brother. I appreciate you. Before we get out of here, just tell the folks a little bit about your new book coming out, Music is History, and then how they can connect with you.
Yeah, Music is History is my sixth book. That will be out in October. My directorial debut, Summer of Soul, or When the Revolution Could Not Be Televised, will be in theaters and drive-ins. A lot of drive-ins, a lot of pop-up. Dope. We're going to do a lot of special one-off screenings of this in parks and whatnot. Maybe some musical elements as well. Who knows? That's all July 2nd, also on Hulu. And I'm certain there's 42 other things that I'm involved with that I totally forgot
14
about.
14 jobs.
Yeah. No, I wound it down to a very normal 6.
Okay.
Yeah. 6 jobs, only 6, not 19.
All right. Ahmir, I appreciate you.
Doc,
thank you so much. I usually close out by saying the truth will set you free if you let it. Today, I think it's apropos. I'm gonna spit something that is, I think, really encapsulates you and encapsulates your life, written by someone that you're very close to. I am a walking affirmation that imagination, focus, and patience gets you closer to your aspiration. And just because they give you shit don't mean you have to take it. My words capture greatness. Sworn affidavits.
There you
Appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you too, Doc. Thank you.
One love. One love.
One love.
We out.